Hi everyone, we are going to start a new lesson, Earth structure. In this chapter, we will be studying about the structure of the Earth, which consists of three concentric layers, namely the crust, mantle, core, and its composition and extent. So before we go into this topic, we should know about the formation of the Earth. This will be helpful for studying the structure of the Earth. And to explain the formation of Earth, we need to know the formation of universe first. The universe formed through Big Bang. I'll explain about this one. Then after the Big Bang, the universe started expanding. Then uh, from a nebula, that's a birthplace of a star, the sun was formed. And uh, in the same time, along the sun, the planets in our solar system also formed, and that is how the Earth is formed, right? So everything happened, or everything started, the formation of Earth started around 4.5 billion years ago. So before that itself, we had the universe there. So we should first study about universe. So the present universe is believed to be formed some 13.8 billion years ago. Before that there was nothing, it was fully empty like this. And at one point, from one single point, all of a sudden the universe formed, right? So from the emptiness, because of the energy, everything started forming in a very small fraction of second. This process is called as the Big Bang, and this Big Bang theory explains the formation of universe. And within few seconds, matter started forming in the universe. And not only that, since ever since the Big Bang, the universe started expanding in all directions, right? And matter started forming. And what happened is, as the time passes, due to variation in gravitational forces or space-time, particles started colliding each other, right? After colliding each other under the influence of gravity, they began to grow larger and larger, right? And as the time passes, approximately some 6.6 billion years ago, huge clusters started forming across the universe, and one of the important cluster was called a stellar nebula. A cluster means it's a huge area with large number of dust particles, rocky materials, and such a cluster of duster is called as a nebula. Nebula is actually a birthplace of star. And here what happened is, uh, particles under the influence of gravity started coming together and started forming into a larger particle. When it becomes larger particle, its mass increases as well as its gravitational force increases. It will attract more and more particles, and it attracts the nearby small particles, and these nearby particles collides with the larger one, and it started becoming larger and larger, and this has led to the formation of stars. And we are now talking about our star, that is sun. So from this stellar nebula, sun started forming in the center. Particles still kept colliding each other, right? And all these were pulled toward the center point of the solar system, and the sun started forming in the center of the solar system. But at the same time, when the sun was forming in the center, in the outer areas also, some larger particles started attracting other particles, and they started forming larger bodies similar to sun. But they did not become bigger like sun, but they became comparatively bigger than the other smaller particles. Eventually they changed into planetesimals, right? Sun formed at the center of the universe, and in the outer areas, so not the center of the universe, sorry, in the center of the solar system, and in the outer areas, larger particles began to grow slowly, and they became planetesimals. Planetesimals means the stage before the formation of planets, and this is how planets formed, right? So such a system formed that we call it as the solar system. Sun is there in the center, and planets are forming in the surroundings, and all this happens while they rotate on its own axis and revolve around a center point. So everything is happening simultaneously, and most important thing, it takes millions of years of time, right? So millions of years of time has taken, right? And even today, planets are growing in size, right? Most of the planets in our solar system has achieved their almost maximum size, right? So this process continued, and along with the formation of the sun, Earth also formed. Okay, now let's concentrate on our planet, that is Earth. Some 2 to 3 billion years ago, this was the situation of Earth. Earth was a huge molten ball where large number of extraterrestrial materials, rock particles, comets, were falling into the Earth's surface, and slowly it started becoming bigger and bigger. It has taken millions of years' time and achieved a spherical shape. Bombardments continued. Earth was rotating on its axis. It was revolving around the sun, and the process continued again for millions and millions of years. Then what happened is, in the due course of time, denser materials like elements like iron, nickel, etc. started sinking into the center of the Earth, and slowly, somewhere around some uh, 3 billion years ago, the situation was almost same. Earth was still a huge molten ball. Only that, uh, the dense materials were started seeing concentrating in the center part of the Earth, but the outer area remained very hot, and temperature in the interior part of the Earth was much more higher than the surface of the Earth. And with the concentration of metals like iron, nickel in the center part of the interior of the Earth, a small magnetic field or a weak magnetic field was started forming, and this magnetic field later helped in the formation of a weak atmosphere, which was fully covered with harmful gases like carbon dioxide, which were emitting from the volcanic eruptions. And this later started forming a huge cloud of dark material around the surface of the Earth. And this dark material or the dark cloud blocked the sunlight from reaching the surface of the Earth, which has led to the cooling of Earth. And through the cooling process, the surface of the Earth started solidifying. Earlier it was in molten stage, but when the cloudy material started blocking the sunlight, the surface of the Earth started becoming solid, and it has slowly changed into a solid surface. That is our present solid lithosphere or the crust. But the interior part still remained very hot compared with the surface, and that is how the Earth has formed. Now if we look into the structure of the Earth, it is like this. Earth has concentric layers. In the outer part we have something called the crust. It's a very tiny layer, very thin. Then next to that we have mantle, a layer where everything is in a molten stage. It is actually made up of rocks, but rocks are in a molten stage because of the high temperature. And in the interior part we have something called the core. Core is again have two divisions, the outer core and inner core. And the inner core is very hard and it's made up of solid, and the outer core is believed to be in a semi-liquid state. Now if we look into the layers of the Earth, we have mainly three layers which can be further classified. So we have crust, the outer layer, then mantle, again to upper mantle and lower mantle, or outer mantle or inner mantle. Then we have two core, that is the inner core, innermost core is called as inner core, and that is covering, that's called as outer core. So these are the concentric layers of the interior of Earth. Now we'll go back to the same topic again, but before that we have to keep one thing in mind, that all this information that we get about the interior of the Earth is from indirect evidence. At least most of them, some 95% of the information is from indirect evidence. So we know this is the structure of the Earth now, and if we take, say for example, the topmost layer, that is the crust, the place where we live, its thickness varies, but at an average it's only about 50 kilometers. Right? The thickness of the crust is at an average it's about 50 kilometers. It's not only that, out of this 50 kilometers, human beings were able to reach a maximum depth of only 12.2 kilometers, which is at Kola Super Deep borehole in Russia. That too with a diameter of only 23 centimeters. That means you can imagine a tiny, that's a 23 centimeters diameter, cylindrical hole starting from the surface of the earth, and that has reached only up to a depth of 12.2 kilometers. So only we were able to, the human beings were able to reach only that much depth. And this is the superstructure. And in this building we had the Kola super deep borehole, but now it is not there. It is almost completely destroyed, and you can see it is welded and secured now. Right, there are so many politics behind it. We are not going into all those things. So whatever evidence we have got directly is only from a depth of only 12.2 kilometers. And if you want to reach the center of the earth, we have to travel more than 6,000 kilometers. So we have more evidence through indirect sources, and this includes evidences from the rock samples. Right, rocks from the interior part of the earth gives a lot of clue about the characters. Then uh, also these samples give ideas about temperature, pressure, and elements, so and so. So geologists study these rock samples, and from that geologists have came to so many conclusions, and all these conclusions helped in creating an idea about the structure of the earth. Not only that, when the magma comes out through the volcanic eruption, it slowly changes into rocks. We call it as igneous rocks, and from the rocks, and also from the other materials that are coming out of the volcanic eruptions, geologists are getting information about the inner of the earth. So this is one of the major evidence that gives some idea about the interior of the earth. Other than this rock samples, we have evidence from seismic waves. Seismic waves are the waves which are created by earthquakes. When an earthquake occurs, the energy passes in the form of seismic waves, and it has certain characteristics. It goes through different materials at different speeds. Say for example, the speed of seismic wave through the solid rock or the crust is comparatively slower. Then we have again different types of seismic waves, and they have different speeds. So by assessing the speed of seismic waves, uh, geologists were able to come to a conclusion that earth has different layers, and that has led to finding that earth has three concentric layers mainly. And another thing, by studying the seismic waves as well as from the lava erupted from volcanic rocks, geologists have came to the conclusion that as we go down, there is change in temperature, pressure, as well as density. Now, now we know that Earth has got three concentric layers mainly. These are called as crust, mantle, and core. Each of them have their own divisions. And another important thing is they greatly vary in their size, composition, as well as temperature and pressure. Okay, now let's try to understand the difference in temperature, pressure, and other variables as we go through the different layers through a small story. Imagine you are going through these different layers of earth. It is not actually possible. You have to just imagine. So for that, what you need is you need to have a vehicle to begin with, a vehicle that can pass through solid rock, then through the different layers of the earth, and you will be, imagine you are carrying different instruments to study about various features under the earth. So what happened is, as you start moving down from the surface of the earth, initially the rocks will be very cool, and at about a depth of 20 meters down, your instruments will say that the rocks are getting warmer. Then as you go further down, around some 40 meters depth, it will again show an increase in temperature. Then for every 40 meters there will be an increase of 1 degree Celsius. It will continue again for several hundreds of kilometers. Imagine you are going down in the interior of the earth, and your instruments, the instrument which is measuring the temperature, will say that the temperature is increasing, and this temperature will keep on increasing, but more slowly but steadily. It will not decrease, it will keep on increasing as you go towards the center. And not only that, high temperature inside the earth will affect you also. So what happened is, as you go down, temperature increases. The main reason is we have radioactive substances inside the earth. They release huge quantities of earth. So as you go down, the temperature increases. It's not only about the temperature. As you go down, another thing is, throughout the journey, your And students will say that the pressure is also increasing. Pressure means actually the force exerted by the surrounding rocks. So as you go down, the pressure will also increase. Then the deeper you go, the deeper is the pressure. So we now know that temperature as well as pressure increases as you go down. Now when it comes to density, again the case is almost same. At a depth of 6,000 kilometers, if you were to pick up a small piece of rock that is of the size of a dice, you are familiar with the dice. Usually a normal die will weigh like some 3 grams. So if you pick up a small rock piece of the same size of a dice like this, it would weigh somewhere around 10 to 15 gram. That is about 3 to 4 times of the original weight of a die. Now to make it a little more easy to comparison, let's take another example. If you could lift a spherical piece of rock of the size of a cricket ball from that depth, that is at 6,000 kilometers, it would weigh actually heavier than a basketball. So that says that as the depth increases, density also increases. So we can conclude that as we go down into the earth, temperature, pressure as well as the density increases. Now let's look into the structure of the earth. So earth has got 3 layers mainly, like crust, mantle and core. Crust is a very thin layer, then we have huge mantle and core. So we can compare this with yeah, an egg, like egg of a hen that we use. So here egg also have 3 concentric layers. In the interior part there is a yolk, which is similar to our core of the earth. Then we have white area, egg white, that is mantle. Mantle is in molten stage. Egg white is semi-liquid in stage. Core is solid in stage. Yolk is more or less like solid, and the shell, outer shell, is crust, which is solid in stage. So we can best compare the shape of the structure of the earth with an egg. But don't write this thing in exam. This is just for understanding purpose. Now if we look at the structure of the earth, this actually shows a piece taken out of this earth. So in the extreme top we have a layer, a very thin layer, which is called as crust, and thickness varies from uh, some 6 to 100 kilometers approximately, and from that 100 kilometers to about 2900 kilometers we have the second layer, that is mantle, and below that from 2900 kilometers to the center of the earth, that is 6378 kilometers, we have the innermost layer, core. Now if we concentrate on the first layer, we have crust, right, from the top, right, from the top of the mountain till this depth is the part of crust. And you can see the depth of the or the width of the crust is different at different places. Here it is this much, whereas in the oceanic area it is comparatively less. So crust, the depth of the or the thickness of the crust varies from place to place, and at an average we can take it as 50 kilometers. If we go for the second layer, we have mantle. Mantle is comparatively very thick, and we can classify the mantle into the upper mantle and the lower mantle. And the third and innermost layer is core. Core is again can be classified into two, the outer core and the inner core. Then the interior most part, that is the center of the earth, and it is located 6,378 kilometers beneath the surface. Now let's concentrate into the first layer, that is the crust. Crust is also called as lithosphere, and the thickness of crust varies from somewhere from 6 kilometers to 100 kilometers. And this consists of 2 layers called Sial and Sima. Sial is the upper crust, or it is also called as the continental crust, and Sima is the oceanic crust or the lower crust. Sial is actually made up of rocks containing silicate and aluminum minerals. That is why the name is Sial. Si indicates silicate or silica, and Al indicates aluminum. So the uppermost layer of the crust is called as Sial, and it's mainly made up of granitic rocks. Then the second layer, that is Sima. Sima is actually rich in silica and magnesium. That is why it is Sima. Si indicates silica, Ma indicates magnesium. So crust is again divided into 2 layers, Sial and Sima. So Sial is on the top of Sima, And Sima is mainly made up of basaltic type of rocks. And from this we can say Sial actually floats on Sima. So Sial is there, it is a discontinued, actually Sial is a discontinuous layer, right? So it floats on Sima. Now the thickness of the crust, I told you already, it varies from place to place, and it is maximum under the mountains, right? So wherever we have mountain, directly beneath that the thickness of the crust will also be much more higher, and in the oceanic area it is the thinnest. So the I'm not talking only about Sierra, I'm talking about the entire crust. So the thickness varies from place to place. So the continental crust is much more thicker than the oceanic crust. Now density, we have seen that the density increases as we go down. So here in this case also, the density at the Sial is 2.7, and at Sima it is a little more higher, it is 2.9. Now composition, it's mainly made up of uh, granitic rocks, but the surface area of the earth is made up of sedimentary rock. The topmost part of the earth as well as the topmost part of the oceanic crust is also made up of sedimentary rock, but the rest is made up of granite rock, right? Upper crust or the Sial is made up of granite, and the lower crust is again made up of basaltic. Both are igneous in origin. So igneous rocks forms the major part of the crust, and the topmost part of the crust is actually made up of sedimentary rocks. Now we have the second layer from the surface, that is called as mantle. So mantle is located between the crust on the top and core at the center, and it extends from somewhere from 80 kilometers to 2900 kilometers. And crust, as I told you, can be divided into two: the upper crust and the lower crust, or the, sorry, not the crust, sorry, we're talking about mantle. So the upper mantle or the lower mantle. And density increases as we go from upper part of the mantle to the lower part of the lower mantle. Density increases from 3.3 to 3.7. Not only that, there is a difference in composition also. The upper mantle is made up of magnesium, iron, silicates and sulfates, whereas the lower mantle has more concentration of iron and nickel. Then the topmost part of the mantle is actually called as asthenosphere, or sometimes upper crust is also called as asthenosphere. So asthenosphere is actually an area where things are in a semi-molten stage, more or less like a plastic stage, and above the asthenosphere we have the crust floating. So we can say crust is floating above the asthenosphere, and this crust is not a single large unit, it has divided into a number of blocks that we call as crusted plates or plates, that we'll study in later in one of the coming lesson. So this is the case of mantle, and the innermost layer is core, is also called as barosphere. It starts from 2900 kilometers and reaches a depth of 6378 kilometers. So this is the innermost layer. This also consists of two layers, one is the outer core and the inner core, and this is mainly composed of nickel and iron. That's why it is also called as Fe. Ni stands for nickel, Fe, that is the ferrous indicates iron. And here the temperature is much higher than that of mantle. In the outer core the temperature is somewhere around at the edge of the outer core the temperature is somewhere around 2700 degrees Celsius, and as we go towards the center of the earth, at the center of the earth temperature, the estimated temperature is approximately 4000 degrees Celsius. And the innermost layer, that is the inner core, is believed to be in hard solid state, whereas the outer core is in a semi-liquid state. And not only that, the density is also very high. The density increases from the lower part of the lower mantle till the center of the earth, that is from somewhere around 14.5 to 16. Now one more topic is there, that is discontinuity. Discontinuity is a transition zone between the layers of the earth. We have mainly two discontinuities. One is called as the Mohorovičić discontinuity, and the other one is called as Gutenberg discontinuity. The transition zone between crust and mantle is called as Mohorovičić discontinuity. Then the transition zone between mantle and core is called as Gutenberg discontinuity. The names are given based on the scientist who studied about this. Now it is called as a transition zone between layers because uh, it actually act as a boundary, right? On one side of this boundary, the character is different from the other side, like a character of the rock composition, density, temperature. So all these characters varies on both side of these transition zones. That is why they are called as continuity, the continuity losses. Okay, now we have crust, mantle, and core. So the first one is the Mohorovic discontinuity, the discontinuity which is located between mantle and crust. In short, we can call it as Mohos discontinuity. Now the second one is the Gutenberg discontinuity, the discontinuity that is located between mantle and core. So these two discontinuities actually acts as a boundary, a transition zone between crust and mantle and core. Now, in between these major discontinuities, we have three minor discontinuities. Between the two zones of crust, that is the CL and Sima, we have contra discontinuity, and between the upper and lower mantle, we have repeated discontinuity, and between the outer and inner core, we have the Lehmann discontinuity. So let's have a look. So this is the Mohos and Gutenberg discontinuity between crust and mantle and core. Now within the crust, between CL and Sima, we have the Conrad discontinuity, and between upper and the lower mantle, we have a repeated discontinuity, and the last discontinuity is the Lehmann discontinuity that divides upper core and outer core and inner core. So in total, we have 5 discontinuities.